Hello, everybody. Let's start with the second part of the lecture of 10th March 2020. So we had a look at the development at the international level. Now we will have a look at the latest development at the European level, taking inspiration from the aforementioned development at the international level. Indeed, on the 11th of December 2019, European Commission released a very ambitious development plan, the so-called European Green Deal. The idea is to set out a European Green Deal for the European Union and its citizens, and to reset the Commission's commitment to tackling climate and environmental related challenges. That is these generations defining task. We all know that the atmosphere is warming and the climate is changing with each passing year. And that 1 million of the 8 million species on this planet are at risk of being lost. Forests and oceans are being polluted and destroyed, and therefore the European Green Deal is a response to these challenges. It's a new growth strategy that aims to transform the EU into a fair and prosperous society with a modern, resource-efficient and competitive economy where there are no net emissions of greenhouse gases in 2050. So the big goal is to achieve climate neutrality by 2050 and to let grow economy. So the idea is not a happy decrease to reduce economy, to slow down economy in order to make this planet more green, but to change the economy in order to make it green and environmentally sustainable. So the idea is to create no net emissions of greenhouse gases in 2050 and to decouple economic growth from resource use. Furthermore, this strategy aims to protect, conserve, and enhance the European Union's natural capital and to protect the health and well-being of citizens from environment-related risks and impact. At the same time, this transition must be just and inclusive. So again, it's not just a matter of promoting a greener planet, a more protection for the environment, but first of all, a solution which can be just and inclusive, which can protect individuals, which can spread education which leads to better behaviors and also better behaviors towards the environment. So this strategy puts people first and pays attention to regions, industries, and workers who will face the greatest challenges. And as this change will bring substantial disruption, public participation and confidence in the transition is crucial in order that this transition and these measures are accepted. So a new pact is needed to bring together citizens and all their diversity with national, regional, and local authorities, civil society, industry working closely with the EU institutions and consultative bodies. So the EU aims at transforming its economy and society and to putting it in a more sustainable path. The objective is to build on these strengths as a global leader on climate and environmental measures, consumer protection and workers' rights, and to deliver additional reductions in emissions. This, of course, requires massive public investment and increased efforts to direct private capital towards climate and environmental action. This is a big opportunity to put Europe on a new path of sustainable and inclusive growth, not only environmental sustainability, but also inclusive growth. So being able to uh, include people and create social justice. The acknowledgement of the European Green Deal strategy is that Europe is not going to achieve those goals acting alone. The drivers of climate change and biodiversity loss are global and are not limited by national borders. The EU can use its influence, expertise, and financial resources to mobilize its neighbors and partners, and in order to let them join it on a sustainable path. So the EU will continue to lead international efforts and want to build alliances with the like-minded. It also recognizes the need to maintain its security of supply and competitiveness even when others are unwilling to act. So this communication on the European Green Deal presents the initial roadmap of the key policies and measures needed to achieve the European Green Deal. And it will be updated in the further years. So what's the connection of this European Green Deal strategy with the UN sustainability goals? The Green Deal is an integral part of the Commission's strategy to implement the United Nations 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals. And the other priorities announced by the European Union. So, what are the key points of the European Green Deal strategy? First of all, transform the EU's economy for a sustainable future. It's necessary to increase to transform the economy by increasing EU's climate ambition for 2030 and 2050. So it is fundamental to modernize and transform the economy with the aim of climate neutrality. Already between 1990 and 2018, the European Union was able to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 23%, while the economy grew by 61%. So you see the growth of the economy, in this case by 61%, is not directly linked, does not give necessarily rise to a growth of the greenhouse gas emissions. Because, for instance, between 1990 and 2018, we had a growth by 61% of the economy and a decrease of gas emissions by 23%. But if we consider the current policies, they are able to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by just by 60% by 2050. This is considered to be too low, so not a satisfying achievement. And therefore, much remains to be done, starting with more ambitious climate action in the coming decade. So, the goal of the European Union here is to increase the greenhouse gas emission reduction target for 2030 to at least 50% and towards 55% compared with 1990 levels in a responsible way. And in order to achieve those goals, the European Commission will, by June 2021, review and propose to revise, where necessary, all relevant climate-related policy instruments. This will comprise the emission trading system, including a possible extension of European emission trading new sectors, member state targets to reduce emissions in sectors outside the emissions trading system, and the regulation on land use change and forestry. So the Commission will propose to amend the climate. All these policy reforms will help to ensure effective carbon pricing throughout the economy. This change in carbon pricing will encourage changes in consumer and business behavior and facilitate an increase in sustainable public and private investment. So the different pricing instruments must complement each other and jointly provide a coherent policy framework. And throughout a fairer taxation, achieve better environmental goals. So the Commission will propose to revise the Energy Taxation Directive, focusing on environmental issues, and proposing to use the provisions in the treaties that allow European Parliament and Council to adopt proposals in this area throughout the ordinary legislative procedure by qualified majority voting rather than by unanimity. The problem is the international context. As I already mentioned, it's not enough that a continent, even a small continent like Europe, relate issues and the other continent standards. Because of course if the air is polluted in Asia or in America, the air is going to circulate and also come into Europe. So it's necessary that Europe sets standards which are followed by other continents, by other states. So the idea is that Europe takes the lead in that and stimulates virtuous behaviors by other partners. So as long as many international partners do not share the same ambition of the EU, there is a risk of carbon leakage, either because production is transferred from the EU to other countries with lower emission for emission reduction, or because EU products are replaced by more carbon-intensive imports. If this risk materializes, there will be no reduction in global emissions, and this will frustrate the efforts of the EU and its industries to meet the global climate objectives of the Paris Agreement. And should differences in levels of ambition worldwide persist, as the EU increases its climate ambition, the Commission will propose a carbon border adjustment mechanism for selected sectors in order to reduce the risk of carbon leakage. So the European Union goal in this path is to adopt a new, more ambitious European strategy on adaptation to climate change. This is, of course, essential, as climate change will continue to create significant stress in Europe in spite of migration efforts. And strengthening the efforts on climate proofing, resilience building, prevention, and preparedness is crucial. Work on climate adaptation should continue to influence public and private investments, including nature-based solutions. And it will be important to ensure that across the EU, investors, insurers, businesses, cities, and citizens are able to access data and develop instruments to integrate climate change into their risk management practices. So what's the first point? The first main point? The first main point of the European Green Deal is the supply of clean, affordable, and secure energy. Decarbonization of energy system is critical to reach climate change objectives by 2050. Because the production and the use of energy across economic sectors account for more than 75% of the EU's greenhouse gas emissions. So energy efficiency must be prioritized. So a power sector must be developed that is based largely on renewable sources, complemented by rapid phasing out of coal and decarbonizing gas. So the EU stimulates member states to present their revised energy and climate plans by the end of 2019. And in line with the regulation on governance of energy union and climate action, these plans should set out ambitious national contributions to EU-wide targets. So, and it is task of the Commission to assess the ambition of the plans and the need for additional measures if the level of ambitions is not sufficient. But what about this energy transition, this clean energy transition? It's a matter of involving and benefiting consumers. If the energy transition does not involve actively consumers and does not benefit consumers, these will not find social acceptance. So therefore, renewable energy sources will have an essential role. Increasing offshore wind production will be essential, building on regional cooperation between member states. And also the smart integration of renewables, energy efficiency, and other sustainable solutions across sectors will help to achieve decarbonization at the lowest possible cost. The rapid decrease in the cost of renewables, combined with improved design of support policies, has already reduced the impact on households' energy bills of renewable deployment. So the Commission will present by mid-2020 measures to help achieve smart integration and to help consumers to profit from this energy production shift. The same level, the same path, the risk of energy poverty must be addressed, especially for households that cannot afford key energy services to ensure a basic standard of living. So it will be necessary to provide effective programs such as financing schemes for households to renovate their houses, and in order to reduce energy bills and help the environment. This will be an essential instrument in order to tackle poverty. So now we come to the smart goods, the smart infrastructure. Because in order to ensure this mentioned shift, in order to ensure the transition to climate neutrality, we need smart infrastructures. We need to make full use of the digital revolution. And therefore, increased cross-border and regional cooperation will help to achieve the benefits of the clean energy transition at affordable prices. So the regulatory framework for energy infrastructure needs to be reviewed in order to ensure consistency with the climate neutrality objective. So this framework should foster the deployment of innovative technology infrastructure, such as smart grids, hydrogen networks, carbon capture, storage and utilization, energy storage, also enabling sector integration. The same framework, some existing infrastructure assets will require upgrading to remain fit for purpose and climate resilient. On the same path, we need to mobilize the full potential of industry in order to create a clean and circular economy. And here we need to face reality. Indeed, it takes at least 25 years, a generation, to transform an industrial sector and all the value chains. And therefore, to be ready in 2050, the decisions and actions need to be taken the next 5 years. We have to consider that from 1970 to 2017, the annual global extraction of materials tripled, and it continues to grow. And this poses a major global risk. Indeed, about half of total greenhouse gas emissions and more than 90% of biodiversity loss and water stress come from resource extraction and processing of materials, fuels, and food. And the EU's industry has started the shift, but still accounts for 20% of the EU's greenhouse gas emissions. You can imagine, only the EU produces 20% greenhouse gas emissions. And therefore, the European Union economy remains too linear. So that means, what is linear economy? It's an economy which is based on production, extraction of raw materials, production, used by the consumer, destruction, dismiss, and waste production. We need to change this linear economy into a circular economy, an economy which enhances, which stimulates the production, use, and reuse of products in a circular way, not just in a linear way. Okay? So, the proof that our economy is too linear is that only 12% of the materials it uses comes from recycling. So the transition is an opportunity to expand sustainable and circular economy. And this may create new jobs. There is indeed a significant potential in global markets for low-emission technologies, sustainable products and services. Likewise, in the circular economy offers great potential for new activities and jobs. We will focus in our course also on circular economy issues, because circular economy offers a great potential for jobs also for you students after you get this degree for which you are now currently studying. So the European Green Deal pushes the circular economy and offers new opportunities, new financing schemes for people investing that direction, and will support, therefore, and accelerate the EU industries and transition to a sustainable model of inclusive growth. So energy-intensive industries such as steel, chemicals, and cement are indispensable to Europe's economy, as they supply several key value chains. But the decarbonization and modernization of this sector is essential. As concerns the circular economy, a circular economy action plan includes a sustainable product policy to support the circular design of all products based on a common methodology and principles. You imagine it's not only necessary to stimulate virtuous behavior by consumers by telling them they have to use and reuse products instead of throwing them away after having used them for a little amount of time. But in order to make products circular, suitable to be reused several times, you need to design them in a specific way. So, in order to have sustainable products suitable for circular economy, fit for the circular economy, you need to design them accordingly. Therefore, the European Union supports the circular design of products based on a common methodology and principle. Therefore, there is need to prioritize reducing and reusing materials before recycling them, and the necessity to foster new business models and set minimum requirements to prevent environmentally harmful products from being placed on the EU market. What is an environmentally harmful product? A product which is not suitable to be reused, which has a short life, which is suitable to be thrown away after little use. Okay, we need to design products for longer use, which can be disassembled, and whose parts can be replaced, repaired, and the main structure of the product can work further. Okay. While circular economy plan will guide the transition of all sectors, we need specific action on resource-intensive sectors such as textiles, construction, electronics, and plastics. So the Commission will follow up on the 2018 plastics strategy, focusing, among other things, on measures to tackle intentionally added microplastics and unintentional releases of plastics, for example, textiles and tire abrasion. So the idea of the Commission is to develop requirements to ensure that all packaging in the EU market is reusable or recyclable and in economically viable manner by 2030, in order to develop a regulatory framework for biodegradable and bio-based plastics, and to implement measures on single-use plastics. So to avoid the use of single-use plastics and to stimulate the bio-based plastics. So the Circular Economy Action Plan will also include measures to encourage businesses to offer and to allow consumers to choose reusable, durable, and repairable products. And one specific point which has been developed right in these days by the European Union is to introduce a more environmentally friendly sales law, so regulation of sale of goods, in order to prioritize the right to repair, things instead of the right to replace, right to replacement. So in order to tackle the obsolescence of devices, in particular for electronics, we will devote a specific lecture to this, but I just wanted to mention now a very important problem which touches everyone's life. Of course, you have mobile phones, you have smart devices, but how often you face the problem of digital obsolescence, of the circumstance that your smart devices are no longer working, not just because they are technical, mechanical problems at the hardware level, but just because the software does not work anymore, and therefore the entire product is useless. We know very well the circumstance that, for instance, Apple and Samsung have been fined for digital planned obsolescence, for having decided to shut down the mobile phones just by deciding from Seoul and Cupertino that iPhone 6 or Samsung Galaxy 4 were no longer allowed to work, and therefore deciding to shut down the phones, to slow down batteries, and to let them go in crash and no longer functioning. This problem of the digital obsolescence is an increasing problem, an increasing amount of damages for consumers, and the question is how to tackle this problem, because it's not just a problem of protection of consumer rights, but also a problem of protection of environment. Because if you have a lot of smart devices which are no longer working, you are generating a lot of waste, and this waste is polluting the environment. So we have to find a solution in order to avoid this pollution. So consumer policy will help to empower consumers to make informed choices and play an active role in the ecological transition. New business models based on renting and sharing goods and services will play a role as long as they are truly sustainable and affordable. So stimulating virtuous business behavior in order to ensure consumers higher and effective rights, and at the same time being able to reduce waste. And in order to achieve these goals, one fundamental point is to ensure the provision of reliable, comparable, and verifiable information, so that this enables buyers to make more sustainable decisions and to reduce the risk of greenwashing. Why this? Because there is a high risk of misleading information about green claims. What is that? Let me be very clear. You will quite often read in the supermarket the brand biological. You can read green energy, production. This train runs 100% through green energy. And the circumstance that the product or the service is made of 100% green energy may impact on your decision to buy that product or to use that service. Because, for instance, you decide after this course of environmental law, or after having been in touch with people actively working for environment, you decide to adopt more environmentally friendly behavior. And therefore, when you're going to buy, as of today, you're going to buy a product or to make use of a service, you are sensitive for products and services which are in compliance with which are environmentally friendly. And therefore, if a product or a service is labeled with a green claim, 100% made with 100% green energy, perhaps you would be more ready to buy it, to buy that product instead of another product, right? Of course. But those green claims may be wrong. They may be misleading. They may be untrue. So what about this situation? How to tackle this situation? Companies making green claims should substantiate these against a standard methodology to assess their impact on the environment. So if you write 100% clean energy or 100% green on your product, you have the duty to substantiate this 100%, to declare why 100% green, which is the process which led to this 100% green technology. So the idea is the necessity, the absolute necessity to tackle false green claims. It's essential to tackle false green claims because they may disrupt the market. If you have a normal product, if you bring to the market a normal product and your competitor brings the same product but puts on the same product the green claim by saying this has been produced with 100% green energy, your competitor may win over you, may get your customers, because your customers are convinced your product, the product of your competitor, is better for environment, and therefore they will buy the product of your competitor, not your product. Okay, so it's fundamental, it's crucial to to combat false green claims. Another point, another crucial point, is digitalization. Digitalization can indeed help to improve the availability of information on the characteristics of products sold in the EU. For instance, an electronic product passport could provide information on products' origin, composition, repair, and dismantling possibilities, and end-of-life handling. And public authorities, including EU institutions, should lead by example and ensure that their procurement is green. The Commission will propose further legislation and guidance on green public purchasing. So a sustainable product policy will reduce significantly waste. And where waste cannot be avoided, its economic value must be recovered and its impact on the environment and climate change avoided or minimized. This requires new legislation, including targets and measures for taking over packaging and waste generation. If you see at the supermarket how much waste, how much packaging is connected to one product, or if you order something over Amazon, you receive a product in a package which contains other 2 or 3 smaller packages for just one product. The question is, can we reduce that packaging, unnecessary packaging? So this requires a deeper cooperation across value chains, as in the case of Circular Plastics Alliance. And the Commission aims to reconsider legal requirements to boost the market of secondary raw materials with mandatory recycled content. In order to simplify waste management for citizens and to ensure cleaner secondary materials for businesses, the Commission aims to propose an EU model for separate waste collection. And especially the Commission is of the view that the European Union should stop exporting waste outside the EU, and therefore will revisit rules on waste shipments and illegal exports. All what I'm telling you opens new fields, new ways for you as creator. If you would like to create startups, if you would like to create new business models, all these elements over the next years are visionary elements which can give you ideas in order to develop new business models and to be the very first one in the market developing and offering products and services which are in compliance with the newest trends of the European legislation, which gives you the opportunity to being competitive, to win over your competitors. Okay, so it's important. It's important to have the full look at the latest developments in European law and European regulation in order to know which are the new motorways in which you can put your business models. So, in order to make all what we described, make it possible, all what we described, we need access to resources. And access to resources, which is also a strategic security question for Europe's ambition to deliver the Green Deal. Because without access to resources, without a proper access to resources, we're not able to deliver the Green Deal. So ensuring the supply of sustainable raw materials, in particular of critical raw materials necessary for clean technologies, digital, space and defense application, by diversifying supply of both primary and secondary sources, it is one of the prerequisites to make the transition happen. Indeed, the EU industry needs climate and resource front runners. You have to be a front runner in order to win over. There are now very, very broad motorways you can run on in order to be a front runner. To develop Europe aims to be a front runner in order to develop the first commercial applications of breakthrough technologies in key industrial sectors by 2030. And priority areas include clean hydrogen, fuel cells, and other alternative fuels, energy storage, and carbon capture, storage and utilization. And as an example, Commission will support clean steel breakthrough technologies, leading to zero carbon steel making process by 2030, and aim to explore whether part of the funding being liquidated under the European Coal and Steel Community can be used. More broadly, the European Union Emissions Trading System Innovation Fund will help to deploy such large-scale innovative projects. And promoting new forms of collaboration with industry and investment in strategic value chains are essential. And what is more essential and where you can have more space for developing your ideas is the crossroads between environmental sustainability and digital technologies. Indeed, digital technologies are a critical enabler, a crucial enabler for attaining the sustainability goals of the Green Deal in many different sectors. And therefore, the Commission aims to explore measures to ensure that digital technologies such as artificial intelligence, 5G, cloud and edge computing, and the Internet of Things can accelerate and maximize the impact of policies to deal with climate change and protect the environment. Indeed, digitalization presents new opportunities for distance monitoring of air and water pollution, or for monitoring and optimizing how energy and natural resources are used. At the same time, Europe needs a digital sector that puts sustainability at its heart. Commission will also consider measures to improve energy efficiency and circular economy performance of the sector itself, from broadband networks to data centers and ICT devices. So the Commission will assess the need for more transparency on environmental impact of electronic communication services, more stringent measures when developing new networks, and the benefits of supporting take-back schemes to incentivize people to return their unwanted devices such as mobile phones, tablets, and chargers. So here ends the second part of today's lecture. In the next file, you will find the third part. Thank you very much for your attention.